from Secret Labs. And of course, Riot Southeast Asia also matching up with the charitable donations of about $60,000 themselves to 5 different charities. So whether or not game 1, as they said, was no fluke, and it was all skill. We don't get to see a draft, but let's go over what we do see for the side of Starcall. You're going to have that Soraka. You're going to have a Master Yi once more. The Vayne coming through. Interesting here, though, we are going to be seeing that Orianna. That was kind of the difference compared to what we saw in the first game, and the Garen getting locked in on the top side of the map.
I mean, Garen, pretty default, you don't really have much to say about that because it just does very well inherently anyway. I really want to talk about this Orianna map, this Orianna pickup, right? Because the Ahri, it looks like, was picked up by the enemy side, so you kind of have to have a second enemy champion to go for. Orianna has slightly weaker lane control and wave management than Ahri, but it's definitely no slouch. And you still have quite a bit of power because of the way the auto-target works. It's very easy to set up for the shockwave. So you have good shielding, good wave clear management, and tons of auto-attack damage. So not too concerned about this pickup. The thing that I'm more interested to see is going into this bot side, because we see a repeat Blitzcrank pickup from the enemy team going up against the Soraka and the Vayne again. And I'm curious. How long can Ron keep his luck up? How long can he get away from these big hooks?
Well, on top of that, too, it's actually, I think, going to be our first misfortune actually coming out here on the day as well, which I think is rather interesting. So we get to see a decent amount of AoE and something to respond when it comes to this Orianna. But I want to go back to that point where you mentioned with the auto-targeting. The other thing that's great with Wild Rift is you're able to buffer the ultimate very easily. You just put on that auto-targeting, put down a Q, and as it's in motion, throw down the ultimate, and it immediately pops. It's actually a really easy mechanic to pull off in comparison to what you see over on PC usually.
Yeah, it's a huge difference in the mechanic that Orianna offers and makes it so much stronger on the mobile version and on Wild Rift. I love how we still refer to it as the Q, even though there are no like alphanumerical like here.
I know.
But we just can't help it, you know.
We'll call it the one. How about that? That's
the
usually
one.
how they're referred to.
Yeah,
the one now, you know. First button, you guess you could say.
Button.
Interesting enough, we've not seen anybody change up their control scheme yet, which I find really impressive. We've actually watched a lot of different games, and no one has adjusted actually how they play. This was the other question I had. What was in the jungle for the side of Marshall? It's actually going to be the Amumu now that we get to see their side of gameplay.
Okay, interesting choice for the Amumu. Amumu brings a lot in terms of team fight potential, but you also have to be concerned because Amumu doesn't really do that well against the Master E if the Amumu is left alone. So you have to be aware of where your teammates are and really be in a position to try and
force Nathan back off the tower, and that's actually a flash on forward. We do see a bit of aggression coming on through, as again, they're looking for a kill. Meanwhile, though, Ace might have to deal with this flank, but a nice charm is going to land into the bullet time. Not able to find enough damage from that Orianna, and it's going to be a 2-for-1 as the Amumu does go down. But overall, now 2 for 2, actually, as the E's able to pick up a cleanup.
Ron managed to survive. But it does seem like the fight kind of goes over to Team Marshall. They managed to get a little bit more damage onto the turret over in the Baron lane. The Garen versus Darius matchup went a little bit haywire. It looks like the Darius is going to get a little bit of time to free farm in the top lane. Not too much of an issue, I'd say. Still looking pretty decent for both sides. It could be anybody's game at this point. But we saw that things are looking a little bit different because Orianna is a very different champion from Ahri naturally with the amount of ability. We saw Cesari kind of got caught out in a weird position that you probably could have got away from as the Ahri, but as Orianna, you have to be very careful of those kind of plays.
So maybe not the best start. Meanwhile, though, bot side of the map. Actually, that's top side, actually. The Darius able to find a solo kill. Looks like some help over from the jungle. And that's actually now going to be Starcall starting to fall a little bit behind here, as that was a rather aggressive move coming out here from Team Marshall, as that was the flash forward coming out from Live.
Good attempt. Darius has been seeing a lot of popularity, does a good amount of damage, and is quite tanky. I'm surprised to see Gragas not really being played very much. I do understand. Wait, what?
It's just a... Okay! This Darius is starting to pop off here. Okay, that's a little concerning when the top lane's able to just kind of run wild across the map, and lane's starting to get a little bit out of control here for the side of Starcall.
Yeah. Saw some good amount of pressure coming through. being able to translate that into a dragon. So objectives definitely on the mind for Marshall. They should be able to grab a couple of these dragons, hopefully being able to pick up the Rift Herald as well, considering the kind of wave clear that bot side has, or rather the Dragon lane has, playing the Vayne, playing the Soraka. They have a bit of difficulty dealing with something like that Rift Herald, which can really help translate into quite a big pickup in terms of turrets moving forward.
So overall, you know, Starcall at the moment, we're not seeing them on their best foot, and they are going up against, you know, the likes of a team comp that can be very deadly in an all-in fight, especially when you have a Misfortune, when you have an Amumu, and when you have a Darius that is solo killing, and you got a Blitzcrank that's able to find rocket hooks onto just that poor Soraka that has nowhere to run. Things are starting to get a little bit out of control here on the side of Team Marshall from Myanmar.
This is so difficult coming in from the side of Starcall. They really have to be concerned about these dives. 4 people playing into the bot lane once again, killing off Nathan. Ryan joins in by gonna get dumped on. Darius on a big rampage.
And we're just seeing now it's a bit of a, like you mentioned, rampage. It's a bit of a stampede starting to show through here as 4 members able to just collapse down, go ahead, pick up that outer tier tower. And the control of the map is starting to slip here for Starcall. They got to try and find an answer here soon.
At least being able to find a bit of a catch. Desire misses out on the shockwave.
Oh, that's a bit tragic right there. The unfortunate ultimate. Maybe was hoping that the ball was going to go over onto that Garen a little bit earlier, but now that's another pickup here. And, you know, Team Marshall, you're now 9-2. Likely going to be starting to look at probably toward a decent-sized gold lead if you're able to, again, find another pick. And you know what? Team Marshall, they came to play here. Now 10-2 is the kill count.
Really going very well for this pick composition, right? They're working with the Charm. They're working with the Darius pull. They're working with the Rocket Grab. All these tools within the kit, they can easily use those to find little pickoffs, 1 kill at a time. And it's snowballed to the point where now they have the strength to go for bigger team fights. Misfortune generally has less mobility, has a tougher time going into a lot of these fights, but being in such a safe position where they just have to go for the occasional catch, the 1 or 2 pickoffs, they never really have to worry too much about the Misfortune. This is a very far cry from how we saw True Shot play. True Shot had gone for something that required the AD carry to be the main damage source, right? They had 1 pickoff, but that wasn't a reliable pickoff. Whereas in this case, if you're Marshall, you stack 1, you stack 2, you stack a 3rd. You know, all these options are available to you. Ryan going for a 1v1 fight up against the Darius, has to flash away, loses a lot of health quickly. I'm gonna move over to the side, drops the ultimate, looking for a little bit more. It's a big fight coming through.
This is messy to say the least, but in the end, it's going to be that Darius picking up 1, maybe 2, as unfortunately Daniel gets taken on down. It's a double kill. The Yee's going to fall as well. They are able to at least trade back some kills, but guess what? Original able to clean it up, and it is just a slaughter in the topside jungle. And guess what? Shelly's still up on the top side of the map. That Rift Herald's going to get another charge.
You know what? It's bad. I want to say that fight wasn't the worst thing that could have happened. You know, they get a bit of gold off of that, and they deny some opportunity for Marshall to continue snowballing. There is an objective coming up, and with their death time is the Team Starcall can move over to try and pick up the Dragon. That being said, though, so are Team Marshall. So now they've kind of reset, they've kind of alleviated the pressure off their team. Whether or not Starcall is able to capitalize off of this is an entirely different question, because it looks like Marshall are just 1 step ahead. They are in that position going for these picks. Cesari wanted to try and go for a little bit of control around the Dragon, but gets caught out by the Ahri, was lying in the way.
Here's the issue too, is when you show that Master Yi trying to push a side lane, you give up all objective control that you have in the form of just having a jungle on the map, and there you go, like you mentioned, an easy pickup for that Drake, and Marshall looking again to just solidify themselves and pick up their first win of the day.
Good showing coming in from Marshall, really working very well with the individual champions. I think so far, Team Starcall are having some difficulty matching against them since a number of their pickups have been removed. The Ari was definitely a huge enabler on the side of Starcall. Now that they've lost that, it's going to be a little bit problematic. But again, like I mentioned, I do have quite a bit of faith in Nathan's vein if they're able to get to a strong point. Big engage coming in from their Mumu.
That was nasty! Curse of the Sad Mummy able to find 4 members, and the poor Orianna just gets put into the grave just like that. NX Live is a monster at this point. And you just see that combo from the side of Team Marshall. It's just so easy to execute. You have the Amumu ultimate, pair that up with a Misfortune bullet time, and there's not a whole lot you can do on the side of Starcall. And now, unfortunately, it's Vincent just getting run down through the center of the map. Might be able to get to safety, but they are just going to chase this poor Garen down, and unfortunately, he dies right beside the Baron. That could be the call right there.
It is the call. They're transitioning right out to Baron. They were in the perfect place to go for this objective. And now, with this Baron buff, it takes away a lot of the power that the Orianna has in terms of wave clear. Wow, nice charm coming through. It looks like the Blitzcrank in position as well. The Shockwave going to delay things for a little bit, but not much more.
That's the issue now. Ryan is going to get taken on down. Original looking for another one. It doesn't matter if they pick up another one. That's another 2 members down. Baron buff in hand. And likely a massive gold advantage, as you now see. That's going to be death cap completed for Original. That's going to just add on to the damage, and unfortunately, we're starting to see gaps in the form of item builds, and unfortunately, it's starting to deteriorate really fast here on the side of Starcall.
Look, did you see Original Matt? And did you see how happy he was after that pick? After pick up Baron? Yeah, that... Honestly, I have to say, Marshall, I'm feeling pretty good about this game. It's not as one-sided as some of the other matches we've seen, but it's definitely a good showing, right? It is a weird position we're in, because I kind of feel like Group B is almost rock, paper, scissors. You know, this team beats this team beats this team, right? And so we might have a pretty interesting groups. So what? And if they tie and score, correct me if I'm wrong, they first go by head-to-head and then by time, correct?
Oh no. It's just going to keep on going. They're bleeding resources. It's a 3-man Shockwave, but like we mentioned, it's only level 10 on the Orianna. Unfortunately, just the item difference being too much here, it seems, for the side of Starcall. And now Marshall, again, find 2 picks, can start taking away, siphoning gold from that jungle, and limiting the amount of resources for the Singapore squad to try and get themselves back into this match.
But it's going to be a difficult time. Vayne generally doesn't have the best wave clear, so going to be in a difficult position. Orianna, their primary source of wave clear, is now sort of invalidated off this. Wow, Curse of the Sad Mummy catches on to 3, but moves in pretty deep by himself right now. Rampage for the Misfortune. They're chasing in for his kills.
There you go. Your bullet time's going to come out. Nathan's able to get himself back over to safety with the flash, but there you go. That's a killing spree for the Blitzcrank. The poor Master Yi just gets smited as they walk out of the base, and like that, Marshall able to find a victory for themselves as they take down Starcall. There'll be one last kill over to the Orianna, but it won't matter when the Nexus is taken overall.
Really good game coming in from Marshall, being able to target some of the flaws that Team Starcall has, and Starcall, you know, for the amount of time they put into it,